led through the mist.
You really realize just how hopeless Wart has become.
Wart falls asleep, and so does Greg, heading off into the one place where anything really is possible when you put your mind to it: dreams! He wishes for him and Wart to be sent home, but apparently Wart can't come because the beast has already taken him.
He tells Glinda, the Good Witch of the North, that he's going to let the beast... We see Greg walk off with the beast, Wart running around frantically, and falling into an ice river.
Why not pretend?
It's the moment this entire month has been building up to. All the reviews, all the updates, all the constant announcing and explaining, all for this one special video.
And like all the other recent Over the Garden Wall episodes that we've reviewed, it kills me inside because it's sad.
So, let's do this.
The angels have gone. The songs have gone.
Wait,
You're sinking like a stone.
it can't be.
For the tide.
Is it? Whoa! Modern sounding music! Current looking scenery! What bizarre parallel universe have I stepped into? Is this the same show? Did the editors mix things up? Have we made a mistake?
They never actually said when it really was set, though.
Yeah, so as it turns out, Over the Garden Wall is actually taking place in the good old 1980s. And it's also Halloween! See why we wanted to save this episode for October 31st?
So, Wart, as he paces around his room, seems frustrated with the cassette tape. This cassette tape is for a girl named Sarah, who we have already established Wart has a crush on. After he unrolls it, throws it in a wall, picks it up, and re-rolls it, he cuts the wool off a Santa Claus hat, finds a marching band uniform, and wears it as his costume. He goes out to the football game held on Halloween night, staring at a bee. For some reason.
Greg just got back from helping Old Lady Daniels with her garden and has a rock in his pocket. This rock has shown up over and over again throughout the series, with Greg pulling it out whenever he wants to give rock facts. It's just one of many seemingly random things that now have an explanation. Greg notices Wart's For Sarah tape and decides that he's going to give it to Sarah for him. Wart objects, but Greg runs off anyway, and apparently Greg's costume is an elephant, hence the teapot.
Greg gives the tape to Sarah's friends. Wart and him leave after they figure out that Jason Funderburker was going to ask out Sarah and then quickly run back to try and retrieve the tape after realizing that they hadn't gotten it back.
So continuing from what I was talking about last video, this is Wart's defining episode. We see how embarrassed he is in front of his peers, how quickly he's reduced to a stuttering mess, and how he can never quite seem to keep the situation in control.
That tape has got poetry and clarinet on it, Greg. Poetry and clarinet!
And, hold on, Wart plays the clarinet, does quote-unquote artsy things like writing poetry, and acts like a sad sack in public. It all makes sense! Wart is emo Squidward!
It's time to stop. You see that time? You see what time it is? It is 6:52 at night and it is time to stop.
Oh no, it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop at all. Until 3 o'clock.
I am going to move the clock hands forward, alright? It is time to stop. If Gulia can do it and get away with it, so can I.
The two follow Sarah to a Halloween party. Now here's another reason why I think this takes place in the 80s. This has to be the most new wave sounding song ever.
Anyway, at the party, Wart finds Sarah, but before he can even get a dozen words in, Jason Funderburker walks in.
Hey, Sarah.
Look at him, wearing his suit and tie, his tiny eyes. What does he think he is? Jason Funderburker? Pfft, more like Jason Funderjerker. Don't don't say anything. That was terrible.
Wirt says that they shouldn't be at the party because they weren't invited, but everyone seems happy to see him, including Sarah. This is the kind of insecure person we're dealing with. He comes up with mental excuses and defense mechanisms to avoid getting into potentially uncomfortable situations. The group is going to the graveyard and offers for Wirt to join, but he says no. And to make matters worse, he still can't seem to get the tape.
At the graveyard, everyone is in a small circle telling ghost stories, and everybody loves Jason Funderburker, therefore making Wirt embarrassed, and the police show up, I guess? The guy who kept saying, "Nah, I'm just kidding, happy Halloween."
And as if spooky circles of teenagers on Halloween night isn't scary enough, just look at the name on this gravestone. Quincy Endicott. Yeah, that whole episode where you thought that they were ghosts, but there weren't actually ghosts? Yeah, as it turns out, they were actually ghosts. It was a haunted mansion the entire time!
Reality's illusion, the universe is a hologram, bye, cool, bye!
The two hop up on a wall and see Sarah discovering the tape. The police try to make them come down, but they instead hop over the wall to the other side. Over the wall. Interesting.
After they jump over the wall, they end up on a train track with the train coming directly at them. They jump out of the way, rolling down a hill and into a lake. Now, I have a problem with this scene. How are their hats still on their heads through all of this? They roll down a hill and then go diving into water. Their hats have to come off at some point in this whole fiasco. But no, they fall into the water with their heads still super glued onto their heads. I have lots of problems with this.
Now we cut back to the present. Wirt wakes up in a tree, surrounded by Beatrice's family of bluebirds. They want to know where Beatrice is, but alas, Wirt doesn't know. Now here's where things get sad. Wirt decides to leave the tree and head into the blizzard to find his brother, despite the warnings from Beatrice's family. At this point, it's clear that he's realized how badly he's treated his brother, and the regret is rushing in fast. And much like with the ending to episode 8, once Wirt realizes how high the stakes really are, he decides to take action, putting his life at risk just to save his brother. Again, it's a very sweet, sad, and defining moment for his character.
This episode was very interesting. We got to see more of the backstory of how Wirt and Greg actually got into the unknown. We got to see more of Wirt and Greg's life as well, and on top of it all, we got to meet Beatrice's family of bluebirds. We also get to see Wirt being sad, which tears me up inside. And this episode, all around, was a whirlwind of information and emotions and facts, and I would give it a 4.7 out of 5.
After all of the craziness we've seen from this show up until now, who would have thought that the strangest, most surprising place of all would be a modern suburb? Again though, this writing choice fits the episode. Wirt feels lost within his own world, a world that feels just as strange and surreal to him as the unknown feels to us. So by making this mundane suburb on Halloween night feel strange and surreal, it emphasizes that in a big way. The revelations in this episode were interesting, and it had its fair share of funny and sweet moments as well. But more than anything, this episode does a good job capturing what it's like to be a teenager, right down to that sad rock song near the beginning. When the drums kick in and the music swells, there's a sense of hopelessness, but at the same time, it also feels like just this unbelievable rush of sheer, raw power, like the world is going to end. And that's this episode in a nutshell. Happy Halloween, everyone!
Thank you one and all for watching, and we hope your Halloween is filled with candy. Bye!